Okay, so let's be real for a sec. If you're here, you're probably looking to make money online.
Probably tired of all the basic advice, too.
Right, like post consistently or engage with your audience.
It's like, yeah, if it were that easy, everyone would be rolling in it, right?
Exactly. So today, we're going deep on a podcast I found called The Shocking Truth about the #1 secret to earning $10,000 a month online. Nobody talks about this. What they don't want you to know,
Catchy title.
to say the least. But clickbait aside, we're going to see if there's actually anything worthwhile in there.
Well, they start off by kind of admitting most people who try to make money online don't actually hit those crazy goals.
Which makes sense. You get all hyped up, but the reality is it's a lot harder than they make it seem.
Yeah, it can be pretty discouraging if you think you're doing everything right but still not seeing the cash.
Totally. And this podcast, they claim that maybe it's because people are relying too much on those basic online tools.
Canva, Grammarly, all that.
Yeah, like they're great, but they're not some magic solution.
Definitely not going to single-handedly make you six figures.
It's like trying to bake a cake with just a spoon and a bowl. You need the right tools, right?
Exactly. And so this podcast, they talk about what they call next level tools, the kind of stuff that separates those making a little money from those making bank.
Okay, so what are these mysterious tools?
One they highlight is ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels. Okay, I've heard that name, but never really looked into it. What is it exactly?
It helps you build something called a sales funnel.
A sales funnel. Break that down for me.
So imagine you have an online shop. Let's say you're selling handmade jewelry.
Okay, got it.
A sales funnel is basically a strategic path that guides people from the moment they find your brand to, hopefully, buying something.
So it's more than just getting people to your shop. It's about moving them through a process.
Right. Like, you might start with a cool social media post that leads to a free guide on how to care for jewelry, which then gets them on your email list where you offer discounts, and eventually that leads them to your shop to buy something.
So ClickFunnels, this automates all that.
Exactly. It's working 24/7 even when you're not.
So you're not manually managing every interaction. It's doing it for you.
Yeah. Automation is key. It lets you reach way more people and frees up your time to focus on other parts of your business.
Makes sense. Instead of trying to do everything yourself, you're setting up a system.
Exactly. And that brings us to another tool they talk about, SEMrush.
SEMrush. I've heard of that one too, but honestly don't really know what it does.
Think of it like a detective for your online business.
A detective. Intriguing.
It helps you analyze your competition.
Okay, so like spying on them.
Sort of.
Okay.
But it's all above board, of course. It basically shows you what keywords they're using, where their website traffic is coming from, even how their social media is doing.
It's not just about knowing who they are, but actually understanding what's working for them.
Right. And then you can use that info to improve your own strategies. Like, let's say you find out they're ranking really well for a specific keyword. You can target that same keyword in your own stuff.
And potentially outrank them. I see, I see.
Yeah, it takes the guesswork out of it and gives you some real data to work with.
This is all way more strategic than the usual advice, right?
Oh, yeah. It's not just about posting consistently. It's about posting smart.
Okay, and this podcast also talked about email marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that seems a little old school, doesn't it?
Oh.
All the social media stuff these days.
No, but they had an interesting take on it. They called it a digital money tree.
A digital money tree. Okay, I'm listening.
It's about building that direct relationship with your audience.
So it's your own platform, not relying on algorithms.
Exactly. You control the message and when they see it.
Okay, so what tools do they suggest for email marketing?
They mention ActiveCampaign.
ActiveCampaign. And what's so special about that?
It takes email marketing to that next level, automates everything. You can segment your audience based on their interests and create whole email sequences that guide them through a specific process.
So each person gets a personalized experience.
Yeah, like instead of just sending out the same generic email to everyone, you're tailoring it to them.
That makes it much more likely they'll actually open it.
And buy from you.
Okay, so these tools, ClickFunnels, SEMrush, ActiveCampaign, they sound powerful, but are they only for like big companies?
That's a great question, and one we'll get into as we go deeper. What's interesting is a lot of these tools are actually pretty accessible, even if you're just starting out.
But then that raises another question. If these tools are so good and they're available to everyone, Why aren't more people talking about them?
Right. Why does it feel like they're being kept secret?
Yeah, like there's this whole underground group of successful online earners who are hoarding all the good stuff.
Well, that's something this podcast actually explores, and it's something we'll definitely unpack in the next part of our deep dive.
Ooh, cliffhanger. I can't wait to dig into that.
So we were talking about why these tools and strategies aren't more widely known.
Yeah, it almost feels like there's this secret society of successful online entrepreneurs who are keeping all the best stuff to themselves.
Well, this podcast we're looking at, they actually suggest that those who are already making bank online, they might not be so keen on sharing their secrets.
Because it would mean more competition.
Exactly. More competition means potentially less money for them.
I guess that makes sense from a business perspective.
But, whether that's really true or not, who knows? What matters is we're here learning about this stuff.
Right, we're ahead of the game.
Exactly. So moving on, beyond just the tools, what are some of the actual strategies this podcast recommends?
Yeah, let's get into that.
One of the big ones is what they call micro-niching.
Micro-niching.
It's about focusing on a very specific target audience.
So instead of trying to appeal to everyone.
Exactly. It's about finding a group of people with very specific needs and desires.
Okay, I'm following. But can you give me an example? What would a micro-niche look like?
Sure. So instead of targeting, say, fitness enthusiasts broadly, a micro niche could be something like yoga for seniors with arthritis or vegan meal prep for busy professionals.
Ah, okay, so it's like getting really specific.
Yeah, the more specific, the better. You become the go-to expert for that particular group.
I get it. So how do you even find these micro niches? It seems like everything is already so saturated online.
That's where those tools like SEMrush come in handy. You can use them to analyze keywords and see what people are searching for.
So you can find those hidden pockets of opportunity.
Exactly. Like you can look for what are called long tail keywords. Those are longer, more specific phrases that people search for.
So instead of trying to rank for weight loss, you might go for best weight loss program for postpartum moms over 40.
Exactly. You're targeting people who are actively looking for exactly what you offer.
I like it. So you found your micro niche. What's next?
Content. They call it sneaky content.
Sneaky content. Sounds a little shady.
It's not about being deceptive. It's about seamlessly integrating your products or services into content that's actually valuable.
So like a Trojan horse.
Kind of. You're delivering something helpful and entertaining, but you're also subtly introducing them to what you offer.
I see. So give me an example of this sneaky content.
Let's say you're a personal trainer who helps women over 50 lose weight and get stronger.
Okay.
Instead of constantly pushing your training program, you could make videos showing simple exercises they can do at home.
Free value up front.
Right. But then within those videos, you could mention that you also have this comprehensive program for people who want more personalized guidance.
So you're not being pushy. You're just letting them know it's there.
Exactly. You're building trust and establishing yourself as an expert.
And hopefully, when they're ready to take that next step, they come to you.
That's the goal.
This all seems like a much more long-term strategy.
It is. This podcast, they're really emphasizing building a sustainable business. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about creating something that lasts.
Which brings us back to automation. This podcast is all about working smarter, not harder, right?
Absolutely. Automation is key to scaling your business without burning yourself out.
So you're not working 24/7.
Right. You're setting up systems that do the heavy lifting for you.
What kind of things can you automate?
Oh, tons of stuff. Email marketing, social media posts, even customer service replies.
So you can focus on the bigger picture.
Exactly. And free up your time for other things.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
But all this, it can feel a little overwhelming, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
So where do you even start if you're feeling a bit lost?
They recommend focusing on one thing at a time. Master one area before moving on to the next.
So don't try to do everything at once.
Right, like you could start with building your email list and setting up an automated welcome sequence.
Okay, so pick one thing and really nail it, then move on to the next.
Exactly. Small steps.
This whole approach seems to be about shifting your mindset, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's about moving away from that feeling of overwhelm and embracing the possibilities.
So instead of getting stuck in the fear of failure, it's about focusing on the potential for growth and success.
Right. And believing that you can learn and adapt as you go.
This podcast seems to be advocating for a much more realistic and sustainable approach to online business.
That's what I appreciate about it. It's not about overnight success or magic formulas. It's about building a solid foundation and putting in the work.
So where do we go from here? What are some concrete steps our listeners can take to actually start implementing all this?
Well, the podcast recommends focusing on 3 key areas. investing in the right tools, figuring out your ideal micro niche, and creating that sneaky content that subtly guides people towards your solutions.
Okay, let's break those down. First, investing in the right tools. The podcast mentioned ClickFunnels, SEMrush, and ActiveCampaign. Are those the only options, or are there others?
Those are just examples. The best tools for you will depend on what you need and what you can afford.
But the key is to view them as investments.
Right. They can really pay off in the long run.
Okay, what about finding your ideal micro niche? That feels like a crucial step, but also kind of intimidating.
It's important, but it doesn't have to be scary. Start by thinking about what you're passionate about.
What you're good at.
Exactly. What unique knowledge or skills do you have?
Like maybe you're amazing at knitting, or training dogs, or baking bread.
Right. And then you can use tools like SEMrush to do some research and see if there's a market for it.
So find that sweet spot where your passions and a real need in the market intersect.
Exactly. And once you got your niche, then you can start creating that content that's really going to resonate with them.
And that's where the sneaky content strategy comes in.
Exactly. It's about creating content that's genuinely valuable, but also subtly guides people toward your solutions.
It's like you're building a relationship, not just trying to make a quick sale.
Right. People can tell when you're being genuine, and that authenticity is what builds trust and ultimately leads to success.
Okay, so we've got the tools, the niche, the content. Anything else we should be keeping in mind?
Consistency. Building a successful online business takes time and effort. It's not going to happen overnight.
So be patient and keep showing up.
Exactly. And most importantly, believe in yourself.
You got this.
Yeah. Believe in your ability to succeed. Don't be afraid to experiment and learn as you go.
This podcast has given us a lot to think about and a lot of practical strategies to try out.
It's a great starting point.
So what's next?
Yeah.
It's like we've got all the pieces, but we still need to put the puzzle together.
We've got the tools and the blueprint, but now we need to actually build the thing.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, online, there's no one right way to do it.
It's all about figuring out what works best for you, experimenting.
I like that. So instead of being overwhelmed by all the choices, it's about embracing that creative freedom.
Right. And that's where the real learning happens, right?
Yeah, it's not enough to just know the stuff. You got to actually put it into practice.
See what works, what doesn't.
This podcast gave us a good starting point, a framework,
A foundation.
but now we got to build on it, make it our own.
And that's where you, your personality, all that comes in.
Yeah, what makes
Yeah.
you stand out? What's your unique thing?
It's so easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to others online.
Trying to copy what they're doing.
But the real magic happens when you embrace your own individuality,
Yeah, let your personality shine through.
There's room for everyone online.
And this podcast, they really hit on that, didn't they?
They did. Choosing a niche you're actually passionate about, that's huge.
Because that's where the excitement comes from.
Right. And when you're genuinely excited about something, people can feel that.
It's contagious.
Totally. That authenticity, that's what draws people in.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a little challenge.
A challenge. I like it. What do you have in mind?
I want everyone listening to take one concrete action step based on what we've talked about today.
Love that.
It doesn't have to be some big, crazy thing.
Baby steps.
Exactly. Like, just research one of the tools we talked about.
No.
Or maybe sign up for a free trial. Or even just brainstorm some niche ideas that get you fired up.
Put that knowledge into action.
Yes. Don't just let it sit there in your brain. Actually do something with it.
Who knows where it could lead?
Exactly. You might surprise yourself.
And remember, building a business online, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
It takes time.
There will be bumps in the road.
But as long as you keep learning, keep trying new things, and most importantly, believe in yourself.
You're golden.
Maybe one day you'll be the one sharing your own secrets to success online.
Inspiring others to go for it.
That's what it's all about, right?
Paying it forward.
So to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it helpful.
And inspiring.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Keep exploring.
Keep learning. And most importantly, never stop believing in the power of your own dreams. Until next time, happy creating.